that's been a really big push for us the last few years is to how do we love our residents well, and I think it's been incredibly effective. We're seeing great retention because people love the fact that we're having these events and building community at their apartment complexes.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Crushing It show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of their dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Gentle Art of Crushing It podcast. My name is Derek Felch. I am one of 6 hosts who are going to bring you conversations 3 times a week on a variety of topics around real estate, business, and personal motivation. Our goal with this podcast is simple. We want to help you succeed in whatever target you're aiming at. We are each committed to finding the best and brightest people who aren't just talking about doing big things, but are actually taking the steps to achieve their dreams and wanting to help others along the way. Today, I'm joined by Josh Adrian, who is the Vice President of Development and People at the Prime Company, which is a multifamily development firm that designs, builds, and manages urban properties across the nation. We discuss how he got started and where the company's at today with over 2,000 units under management, and how they've developed and pursuing their ultimate goal of giving away 90% of their profit. It's a fantastic conversation. I hope you learned something like I did. And with that, let's bring on Josh.
Yeah, I grew up in a small town of 1,200 people in south central Kansas, and we kind of laugh. We go to conferences for apartments, and we actually have one apartment complex of our own that you can fit almost my entire hometown in, and so we always think that's pretty fun. One of the guys I work with is from Houston, and so he's always joking about like, hey, you didn't realize that this hotel we're in is bigger than your hometown, and things like that. So I grew up on a farm as a farm kid, and then everyone in my family has been an entrepreneur of some type. I'm very proud of my mom's business. She has had a retail specialty gift shop, which lots of ladies dream of owning and operating one of those. And she has managed to keep one of those in business in a little town of 1,200 people for 40 years now, which is a really impressive feat. And she's an amazing business person to learn from. Just have a history of entrepreneurial background in my family, which has served me well. I went to Kansas State University. I actually got a degree to be a teacher, a high school teacher, and then in college met and became friends with the guys who own our company. The Elsies, Brian and Chris Elsey, are identical twins, and got to know them in college. I went off and did a few other strange things. My first career really ended up in the golf course world, and I had the opportunity to work at Pebble Beach and host the 2010 U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, and got to play a lot of really incredible golf in that time, because when you work at Pebble Beach, everyone lets you come play their course because they want to come play yours. And so that was a really fun time doing that. And then after the golf market really crashed there in 2008, 2009, there was a lot of empty golf jobs, and I decided to, in 2011, come back to K-State and work on an MBA. And when I did that, my friends Brian and Chris, they didn't have any employees yet in their little real estate business, and they were looking to grow. And so I became the first employee of what we call the Prime Company. And that's kind of where my part of the story with this business started.
Wow. So what can you tell me about Prime Company? Tell us about that company.
Yeah, so Brian and Chris originally bought kind of a rundown old apartment complex at Kansas State, and their vision was to rehab it and sell them as condos, and then make some really good money, and then go figure out what they were going to do next in life. So they put an ad in the newspaper. This was long enough ago that a newspaper was a thing that you would use to find labor, and so they put an ad in the newspaper and hired guys that they ran the crew for, and they remodeled and rehabbed these old apartments, and then they also hired an architect and the most reliable, respected general contractor in town at that point to build one additional building at the property to be able to sell. And the condos did not sell well because that was right in the midst of the financial crisis, and condo financing had dried up, and so their option was really to either go bankrupt or start renting them out. And so they started an apartment renting business at that point in property management. And the contractor was late and over budget, and they decided, hey, you know what, we could be late and over budget. That's a pretty simple thing to do. Anybody can be late and over budget. So they went and got their general contractor's license at that point, and so at that point, then they had a property management business with most of the units didn't get sold as condos, and they decided to start trying to continue to grow this thing. And so they bought, 3 houses in a row and bulldozed those and built a little, apartment on there and started to grow kind of incrementally and slowly here in Manhattan, Kansas, around Kansas State. And then right around the time that I started in 2011, we had 2 more projects lined up in Manhattan, but they'd started to look towards other municipalities that were more developer friendly. And so we ended up building 1,000 beds in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And at that point in those projects, we hired an architect and brought an architect on. And so that's when we launched our architecture firm. And so at this point, we have our own architecture and design company that has about 14 architects and interior designers on it. And then we have a construction company that builds all of our own projects. And then we have a management company that manages all of the apartments that we own and operate. And then we also manage for other owners that are looking for third-party management. People who have a real expertise, especially around campuses and in the student housing world. But we do multifamily as well. And that's kind of that's kind of the basis of our business. We have projects that span from San Francisco is a really exciting one that it took us 7 years to get approved to build an apartment complex in the Mission District in San Francisco, but we just got our approval on that, and we're pretty excited. We got that passed, and with that came a newspaper article that said that we did it right. All these developers come and do it wrong, and it doesn't work, but here's a situation where it was done right. And so that was pretty neat. I'd rather done right didn't take 7 years as we developed more stuff in San Francisco. But so we had projects in San Francisco, down to San Diego, all the way over to West Palm Beach, Florida, and then up to Ohio and Minnesota. So we kind of cover the country fairly broadly.
Wow. And so what exactly do you do there, Josh?
Well, when I came on, I started in the management side and ran the management side of the company as we grew that for a long time. And then in 2020, I kind of transitioned into a different role. So my title now is the VP of Development. And in our company, that means developing people, developing ideas and technology, and developing business. And so I work on developing our third-party relationships where we manage apartments for other people. I manage a lot of the technology that we go out and look for to make sure that our company is being efficient and succeeding and filtering through. There's just a plethora of people trying to sell you on all these different products, and so there's been a lot of time working through different things that can benefit our company that way, and then developing people. And so we do some kind of unique people development things in our company, and so I kind of oversee all of those things.
Okay. So what it's I think it's always interesting to talk to people who were in real estate during the financial crisis of 8, 9, 10, 11. I think they have a different tone to them than maybe people that are in the real estate business after that and haven't gone through something like that. But what changes have you observed in the multifamily segment over the years you've been working in it? Like any trends or changes, things you're seeing that are happening, or differences, things like that?
An interesting piece, our company was just really starting during that time, and it was really a boon to our business in kind of a strange way. But we saw where we were at in Manhattan, Kansas, there was obviously, a crunch and a compression. At the same time, the city here started doing rental housing inspections. And where if we had tried to start our business in Manhattan, 2 years earlier, we probably wouldn't have been able to start. But the combination of those two things put a lot of properties on the market that had never been on the market before and wouldn't have been. And so we were able to piece together, 6 houses in a row and make a deal work to be able to buy all those and to do those kind of things. And without that crunch, without those, that little small tweak in laws for inspections in Manhattan, we wouldn't have survived that. Most of the projects that we are working on now aren't student housing. We kind of have our last 2 student housing projects under construction right now. One at University of Southern California in Los Angeles, and one at San Diego State. But the first 8 or so years of our company was really all about student housing, and so the cycles in student housing look a little bit different than the cycles that everybody else faces. And so when the recession really hit, that always tends to drive people back to school. And so it was a really great time to be in student housing. And you look nationwide, really university-wide, 2012, 2013 was the peak of university enrollments, and they've continued to drop ever since. Now, at Power 5 conferences, especially Power 5 universities that are in metropolitan places, I mean, those numbers have continued to increase at like 4 to 4.5% a year. So those are really strong places. But so the recession kind of affects student differently. And so for us, it was a great time to launch into student housing.
Wow. So the reason, one of the reasons I was excited to talk to you, Josh, and I got introduced to you from a mutual friend, is I'm always fascinated about finding purpose and profit and finding that where does that intersect. And I know there's some things that you guys do as a company where you have some goals of what you're going to do with your profit. Can you share a little bit about that and kind of what your mission is?
Yeah. So, the Prime Company has a very unique mission. When I first came to work with Brian and Chris, it didn't take me very long to see, hey, this is a profitable business. This is going well. And I didn't necessarily come from a background of like feeling like I needed to, be a millionaire, be a billionaire. And so I, kind of quickly said, okay, guys, like, I mean, you guys are doing fine. Like, you hired me. Like, what's the point? Like, why even grow this? I mean, you could live very comfortably on this. And they said, well, no, Josh, we want to make as much money as we can and give it away to the things that we care about, which for them and for myself is our church and things related to Jesus. And so at that point, I was like, that's great. Let's maybe write some of that stuff down. Let's set some real goals. And so they had read a book that was really impactful to them called Movers of Mountains and Men. And it's a book about a guy who kind of was like a precursor to what we would think about as like Caterpillar, like a giant earth-moving company. And he felt conflicted about, should he continue on with this natural gifting as an engineer, designing these giant earth-moving things, or should he have a life of ministry, because he thought that the Bible was really important and Jesus was really important in his life, and what could he do? And his pastor told him, hey, the world needs successful business people that make money and give it away to support these kind of things. And so that guy had set forth a goal to give away 90% of his profits. And he was able to do that. And so having read that book, the guys said, hey, that's going to be our goal. We want to give away 90% of our profits. We don't know what that looks like or how we'll do all that, but somebody else has done that. We want to be about giving and generosity. And so so they set that goal, and we started, with different metrics for how to give away money and things. And, those have changed over the years, exactly how and all those kind of things. But it certainly changes the dynamic of the work relationship a whole lot. And, we talk a lot about, especially when we're talking to people about our company, one of the things that most of us here really love and appreciate is we're not putting in long hours and working hard so that someone other than ourselves can own a yacht someday. Like, that's not the purpose of what's going on here. Our owners are never going to go buy a yacht. That's never going to be a part of their lifestyle and what they're trying to do. What we're trying to do as a company is to give away as much money as we possibly can. And I think that, especially in the millennial and Gen Z generations, the working for a greater purpose is really important. And we see a lot of other businesses that tout and promote doing those kind of things. And I think that's a great thing. I think I often have I look at that with a little bit of trepidation and think this seems like maybe more of a marketing ploy than it is anything else. Like, oh, you're giving to this, okay. Oh, you gave $20 million. That's amazing. What percent of your profit is that? Oh, it's a rounding error, for them. And so I think that in general, employees can really see through those things and know. And, in our company, we have a lot of people who have had many great job offers to go other places and make more money, but they continue to stay in our organization because they're passionate about our giving and what we're giving to. And they know that wherever they go, they're not going to be able to be a part of something as big as what we're doing.
Are you met, Josh, with a lot of cynicism when you share this, like if you're at conferences or, multifamily type events? I mean, do people kind of look at you strangely or think, yeah, that sounds nice on paper, like you said, is it a marketing thing? Or
yeah, I mean, it's not something that we lead with in a conference. It's something that we, as we develop relationships with people, that we talk about. Certainly it's on our website. We're very bold about what we're doing on our website, and so people will ask us about it some. But people do look at us strange when we talk about it. We often get questions of, how is that even going to work? Give away 90%. And I would say we're still not confident in how that's going to work. It's a goal we're working towards. We try to raise that number, 2 to 3% every year. And yeah, we're not real sure what that's going to look like as we approach 90%, how that changes. It certainly has an effect on the growth of our company. We don't have as much funds to grow our company as if we had only given away 2% all these years and been able to plow all that extra money back into more development deals. But we think that is more important than having more deals.
Okay. How do you, I'm assuming that not everyone there makes minimum wage. I mean, how do you navigate through that? Because I've been a part of, I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to be a part of a group that was trying to do a similar thing of purpose and profit. And, it's a strange, awkward dance because you you have to make money to pay the bills, and people have to get paid. You have to be competitive in wages, and some people really want a yacht and those types of things. So how have you guys, what kind of conversations, or how have you worked through that a little bit as you've gone, or what have you learned? Maybe that's a better way, because I'm sure it's going to be a constant conversation of how do we balance this.
I think that's a great question, and it is challenging, right? When your sole purpose as a business, say you're a publicly traded company, and you have a fiduciary responsibility to make as much money for every stockholder as there is. It's easier to make decisions, right? That is an easier framework to work in and around than one like we have, that says, hey, our goal is to give, and then beyond give, our company motto is to love thy neighbor. And what does that look like? We have neighbors in our apartments that that live with us. They live at our buildings. They're our neighbors. We have employees. They're our neighbors. We have the people that live around our offices. We have the subcontractors that we work with, and those kind of things. What does loving thy neighbor mean to one person in your company can look very different than to what loving thy neighbor looks like for somebody else in that company. And those differences are, they can be awkward, as you said. They can be challenging. It is not as easy as just having a 100% for-profit mentality. It certainly adds for really good and unique and challenging conversations that go on, and it can lead to hurt feelings at times around here. That's just a reality of business, whatever business you're in. But it seems unique when you're doing what we're trying to do, and so the thing that you try to do is be consistent with it, right? When you start to lack consistency is really when people start to get their feelings hurt and start to really struggle with those kind of things. And so that's you set your compass, and you continue on it in a consistent way. And we've had a few people leave over the years from our business, but we know in the property management side of the real estate world that turnover is incredible. We go to conferences, the same ones every year, and you're like, oh, you're wearing a new shirt this year. It's like, oh, I'm working for them now, and I'm working for them. In the course of our property management business, our turnover is just really amazingly low. It's just really incredible. We've had, I can think of 3 general managers that we've had move on from our company over the last 13 years, and one of them has come back, to work for us in that time. And so, we're pretty proud of that. I think that shows that as best as we can, we're doing a good job at balancing those kind of situations. But it is a challenging thing to do this. It's not simple. It's not straightforward. It's difficult. We think it's worth doing, but it's difficult.
What would you say you've learned? Like, if you look back since you started this goal of giving away profit, what have you learned from it, as far as maybe what you could have done different starting out, or I don't want to say a mistake you've made, but like, what if somebody else was considering, hey, I would like to start introducing that into my company in some, small, large, whatever way, like any tips or advice you would say you've gleaned from the years of these conversations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One of the things that's extra challenging about it is that you're a for-profit, right? And you have to follow all the rules and laws of being a for-profit and all these things. And so there's some limiting factors there. At the same time, you want everybody that works for you to be excited and really bought in about what you're doing, and recruiting people that have the same goals and desires and see these kind of things. And not everybody in our company is passionate about what we do. Most everybody loves the fact that we're giving funds away, and that's really important. They may not be as passionate about what we give to as others. But I think that's one of the things that has been kind of hard for us is in the early, smaller days of the company, everybody involved kind of had more say in how the thing operated and how funds went, and felt like they had a lot of ownership of that. And as you grow, just naturally that kind of has to change. And so that's a challenging tipping point in there where that starts to change. And so, maybe I would say, but it's really hard because you want everybody in your company to be really bought in and engaged on it. But maybe keeping it small at the beginning, and who is really part of the decision-making process on those kind of charitable things is probably wise, I would say, after all this time.
Yeah.
And then let people who are attracted to what those people are already doing be attracted to that, and not be attracted to I want to be involved and tell people where the funds should go. I think that's probably a place I would start from in trying to counsel somebody. But like I said, it's not easy, whatever you do with this methodology.
Yeah. How does this translate in with tenants? Like, one of the questions that comes to mind listening to you is, so how do you balance rent raisings with affordable housing options? Like,
well, that's a whole other question right there.
Yeah.
Affordable housing. So we just got back from the Student Housing Interface Conference in Austin, Texas, which, if you're doing anything in student housing, it's a fantastic conference. We go to it every year. There's a lot of great stuff there. But to sit in some of these panels and hear people talk about affordable options whilst putting pictures up of buildings that, in my view, is something that someone should aspire to work really hard their whole life to be able to live in, is a conundrum that I can't wrap my mind around at times. And so the affordable piece in that world is really intriguing to me, because the affordability problem, I think, for student housing is really more a city issue than it is a developer issue. Developers are always going to follow where the opportunities and dollars are, and cities have tended to, especially college towns, have tended to limit development, and so they're limiting the supply pool, which is really driving up costs for college students. And I mean, Ben and I at this last conference, we left there and he said, we don't know if it's because we're just starting to get older now, but this seems like we're causing, like, as an industry, not us personally, as an industry, we're really piling on to the problem of additional student debt, and we're setting college students' sights maybe too high. When you move into a place at 19 years old that has its own coffee shop and a lazy river and a yoga studio and just all of these just incredibly over the top amenities that the arms race of student housing is promoting, I mean, that's problematic. So that's what I would say in that world on affordability. Affordability on our multifamily side of our company, we're doing our first affordable housing project right now in LA County, and so we're engaging with that. We're learning how to do that process, and that's been really interesting to work through and to engage with that. So we're excited to learn more about doing more affordable housing projects. And then we have tried to solve for affordability by increasing density as a company. And so one of the things that makes us really unique is our vertical integration with our own interior design, our own architecture firm, matched up with our management side, where we have a lot of control. And so we have developed and built one micro unit project that's in at Ohio State, where everyone has like 150, 165 square foot space that just has a kitchenette. It has a bed that folds down from the wall. And then they share like an industrial kitchen and really cool common area space with 50 other people on their floor. And so that's been a really successful project that's able to give students privacy that they typically are unable to get in a typical student housing 4-bedroom, 4-bath style development. And we're doing the same, we're doing a version 2.0 of that at San Diego State. That's maybe the project I'm most excited about that we have in our pipeline right now, with 8 micro units with a large kitchen and laundry facility, for them to share. And we're able to really, by densifying that much, we're able to keep the projects a lot more affordable. And that San Diego project's a great example where we had there's 2 parcels right next to each other, exactly the same size. The parcel next to us got like 135 bedrooms on that parcel, and we got 254. Well, our place is always going to be able to be a more affordable option by being able to densify that property, so much better. So we think that's really neat. So I'll kind of try to tie that all back to where I originally would go with that question, which is, what do we do with our residents? And so that's a question that in, I think, late 2020, maybe early 2021, we started to really take seriously. Is, we give financially to different things that we're passionate about in India and Africa and the United States, like all over, but we weren't really doing anything for our residents. And I mean, besides trying to provide them great housing that is at a good price point, that gives them great service, all the things that you want to do as a management company. So we set out and decided to launch a thing just for our residents. And so that's called Resident Life. And so it has a board that functions outside of our company, but we hire Resident Life to be at each of our apartment complexes, and they put 2 people living in each apartment complex whose job is to put on events that build community and have people have a great time, enjoy where they live more, to do life coaching relationships with the residents there. So people that are struggling, they have someone that they can reach out to that lives in there. And then for our staff at Resident Life, they go through a biblical counseling program to help them know how to counsel people well and to help them through hard things. And it's a very intensive curriculum that they go through to be able to help people. And so that's been a really big push for us the last few years, is to how do we love our residents well. And I think it's been incredibly effective. We are as of this morning in our portfolio wide, we're 39.8% renewal rate in student housing, which is incredible. To hit that 40% number will be a real celebration when, typically, to just bare minimum, 33% of your residents are just moving on, right? That's just kind of how college works. And so we're seeing great retention because people love the fact that we're having these events and building community at their apartment complexes.
Do you do that at almost all your apartment complexes, or just the student housing?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we do that at all of them. Yep. And so it looks different in multifamily than it does in student housing. It's a little bit different there, but it's the same thing. We just want people to have community. And Derek, I'll tell you, it's kind of one of the things I kind of joke about is that it's, in some ways, there's a little piece of it that's a little bit like having a great gym, where you'll meet people. We'll even get really great reviews from people that talk about, oh, we just love the community here and the events that they put on. And you're like, I don't think that person has ever been to an event. And it's just like people who take, come over, oh, you got to see the gym. We have the most amazing gym. And they're like, oh, so you use this a lot? It's like, I've never been in here. I've never used it, but it's here and I love it. And so there's an aspect of that that's been kind of funny to work through and see, like, yeah, people love the idea of it almost as much as they love doing the events. But yeah, it's been great for our properties. It's just a great program. We're really proud of what we've put together with that.
It's really interesting. Now, do you raise money as well? Do you do syndications with bring on other money from other investors or no?
Yeah, so as of today, we have never done that. It has all been on hand and through bank debt, but we are in the process of launching that wing of our business. And so we're starting a syndication project on a project in Oceanside, California. That's really cool. If you're ever in Oceanside, it's just a few blocks from the ocean and a few blocks from the best frozen rice milk you'll ever have in your life. So it's an incredible little shop on the beach with frozen rice milk snow cones.
So what does that look like when you're going to bring on other investors who may or may not be? I mean, obviously that giving away profit is part of that conversation, right?
Well, yeah, we hope that the people that want to invest in us are passionate about what we're doing as well. That they would be in line with what we're doing, but they don't need to be, because for us, the deal needs to stand on its own outside of its intrinsic values that we would hope people would have who are aligning with us. And at the end of the day, on a syndication deal, there's really no part of our giving that's a part of that. That would come after their payments, right? It wouldn't affect what each of them are making. So we're not taking 40% out of the syndication deal before paying them off. That's coming into what comes into us, and then it gets split out. But yeah, we really hope we can find a lot of people who think, hey, what these guys are doing, Resident Life, like being able, those are amazing things, and we'd love our money to be coming back with great returns, and we'd love our money to be doing more than just producing great returns for us.
Do you sense that this is starting to become a bigger conversation amongst people on the idea of profit and purpose, like beyond the marketing campaigns, amongst the little smaller operators or smaller groups that you interact with? Or
yeah, I think that's one of the things that's been really fun in this process that for sure I didn't expect, is that, as we set out to kind of build this and do these things, we didn't know anybody else doing things like this, especially in our space, in the real estate space. And, as we've grown, and people hear about us and we hear about other people, we start having really interesting conversations with other real estate developers who do neat things. And so we have some friends down in Texas that they're super passionate about. They do a lot of Class C property, and their owners super passionate about helping their Class C residents, their working collar people, be able to buy a home someday. And so he went to the trouble of buying a bank and tying a bank in with their property management software, where he can give funds to them, like give them rent conciliations for them putting money in a savings account every month. And so, hey, if every month this amount of dollars goes into your savings account, then I'll knock off, at the end of 6 months, I'll knock this much off your rent that month. And so I think that's really neat to see somebody engaging in that way. We've met another guy out of Louisville, Kentucky, that's doing something similar to Resident Life that's really neat, different, but trying to do that same thing of just how do we make money as a real estate developer running these apartments, but offer more than just a place to live for the resident.
Wow, that's really cool. If you were advising someone maybe thinking of getting into multifamily, into this space, what any advice if somebody were listening to this and like, man, how do I even get started in that arena, that area?
Well, I mean, certainly this is maybe just kind of like a of course, kind of comment, but just start meeting with and talking with people who are in it, and get a lot of lessons that you're going to get a lot more of than I can give you in a 1-minute answer on here. real estate, there's a lot of great people in real estate, and I've found as we've continued to grow, and we've had to learn more, there's so many people who are excited to tell you what they've learned over the years. Like, people like to tell story. They like to let people know what they've done, and I think in general, like helping other people out. And so, if you can find some different real estate oriented groups that you can get a part of, and like masterminds or different things like that, and just really be able to engage and ask questions. I think podcasts like this are great. It can pique your mind about a different and unique idea. But then, just reaching out to people and asking questions and learning from them, that's worth a ton.
What's next for you guys? What's on the horizon? What are you excited about? What's your goals in the future, moving forward the next few years?
Yeah, so we have a massive amount of development projects in the works. I think last I heard it was like 21 projects that we have our architecture team working on. And so for us, the exciting thing is, getting a few of these syndication deals put together to start to really be able to move the ship forward on a lot of these really neat projects. We've got a couple in San Francisco and in LA and Oceanside and San Diego, and then out in Florida and down in Austin, and so and kind of in the Chicago suburbs, so kind of all over. But we've just got a lot of really exciting projects that we're really looking forward to seeing get built and to continue to grow what we're doing that way.
Yeah, that's really cool. If people want to learn more about you, where would they need to go?
Yeah, so our website is theprimecompany.com. It's got a lot of good information on it. We have some really unique core values that are on our website, and so the one that people always kind of like to talk about and question us about is said, one of your core values is eating together. It's very important. It's very important to our company to eat together. And so we, at all of our locations, wherever you're at in our company, we have what we call family lunch once a month, where on the company you take your spouse, your kids, everybody goes out as a group together and has a meal together, just so that if the whole family is involved in what we're doing and each other well. I think for me, one of the things, especially as we were growing in the early days, that was so valuable about those was, it's easy to get frustrated with other people in the company and, that part of the company is dropping the ball on this. But when you really know, that he's a good guy, he's got 3 kids at home, he's trying to raise right, and, they got a new baby, and, you just know, and you have more grace for everyone when you're connected in that. And I personally just believe that when God created the world, for whatever reason, he put a special blessing on looking at another person while chewing things in your mouth. There's just something really special about sitting down at a table and eating together as a connection that's important. And so that's a big part of who we are as a company is eating together and building that kind of relationship. But we got other unique core values on there, but that's the one that generally always really stands out to people.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. I think it's such a challenge with entrepreneurialism. It's just a go, go, go. We're driven and we want to achieve. And I think as we get older, we start to remember that other people matter and are important. And to have those relationships and to have people that like to work for you and want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I think that can get forgotten sometimes in our hard charging. So I think that's great. I realize I've never asked you this at all during this conversation, but how many units do you guys have under management?
Yeah, we're in the 2,000, right around the 2,000 mark.
And can I ask what percentage of profit you're at that you're giving away?
So last I knew, it was just over 40% is where we're at.
I just think it's important that, I wouldn't, because when I listen to podcasts, I get kind of cynical. I admit sometimes, people make it sound pie in the sky, and then you realize that it's really their mom bought everything for them or something. But I want people to realize, you are legit. It's not like you're running a church with a little cabin in the back. You're you're running a legitimate business. You're like a big player in this multifamily space. So I think that's really cool. Any last words? Anything else you'd like to share that I should have asked you about, Josh? I forgot to, or is burning within you?
I don't know if there's anything you should ask, but yeah, we're always looking for people that are like-minded, and are passionate about real estate, passionate about giving. For us, so many of us in our company are passionate about church and Jesus, and so check out our website, get to know us. Like I said, we're going to be putting together some syndication deals, and so we're excited about those and getting people to come alongside us in those things. And we love good, talented, hardworking people here all the time. And and so I love to be able to get to share with anybody about what we're doing. And so if you want to call me, my cell phone is on the website, just as is everybody in our company. So you can go to our contacts page and call anybody, owners of the company. It's all on there. If you want to call and ask them questions, certainly can.
That's awesome. Do they have to live in Manhattan? I only ask that because I'm in Lawrence, but anyway. So
we do have some remote workers. I will say we prefer in person for that collaboration aspect. So we do prefer that. At the same point, right, we do real estate across the country, right? And so we have to have people who live dispersed. So when, that kind of dispersed working started to happen in 2020, it was like, well, we're fairly comfortable with this. Like, every employee that I've managed on the property management side doesn't live in Manhattan,
Well, this is great, Josh. Thanks very much. I appreciate your time. We'll list the links to the things you mentioned in the show notes, and hopefully maybe we can catch up again and see how you're doing. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Derek. It was great.
You bet. Well, folks, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the discussion we had with Josh and were maybe inspired how you can make your goals have more impact on those around us. We'll have links in the show notes to the items mentioned in the show below. I would ask, if you found any value in any of our content, would you mind sharing it with someone else today? It would certainly help us expand our reach to see others do great things. It'd also mean a lot to me if you'd leave a like, a subscribe, a review, a comment, whatever you need to do on whatever platform you're listening to or watching us on. It would be greatly appreciated. I want to thank you for listening, and I remember there are new podcasts that come out 3 times a week. But I would say don't just be a consumer of information. Do the work you were meant to do. Have a great day.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of The Gentle Art of Crushing It. It was an amazing episode. We know we sure learned a lot, and we hope you did as well. We want to take a second and thank you so much for viewing or listening to this episode. And please just know that we only ask for one favor, and that is to make this life magnificent. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.